Good morning, George. How are you?
I am very fine today. Thank you.
Yeah, and we talked 1 week ago, and the sound was good last time. Today there are some problems, but I hope that we can continue our talk. And there were several comments, so I will talk about it in the beginning before we start with what we decided to talk about. Um, First, it was one question about that you have heard that the Illuminati will nuke Israel, and so the Third World War would start that way. And I just would like to explain from my perspective, because I know that it was the case. They have tried several times since 2013. I'm saying I'm not sure it was in the second half of 2013, but certainly in 2014 they have tried, but it was blocked, like in 2012 at the London Olympics in summer. London Olympics, they were planning a nuclear false flag there, and there are many witnesses and people who have stopped it. It was barrister Michael Shrimpton. He went to prison for 6 months, I believe, instead of be declared to be a hero. And Ben Fellows, investigative journalist, and I believe Ben Fulford in Tokyo was involved, and even the Russian Secret Service, because the nuclear weapon was like from Soviet, so that they wanted to cause a problem between the bloc, like Russia and the Western bloc. And it was stopped. And later, from 2013, it was many times that they have tried, but it was blocked. And I want to say that it wasn't blocked by any ETs. It was blocked by human beings here on Earth who were blocking nuclear attacks that the Illuminati were trying to do. But from my perspective, why they wanted to nuke Israel and Jerusalem in particular, because these are Satanists, Luciferian, and they are better. They know better the Bible than the Christian people themselves, and they are mimicking what is written in the Bible, and especially they wanted to nuke the Al-Aqsa temple because they wanted to build their third temple of Solomon, and the so-called Antichrist, or the leader of the New World Order, which is William Van Down, would enter the third temple of Solomon on 23rd of September 2017. And they wanted to tell us, reveal us their secrets, what they have hiding from us, and then they were planning to shut down the internet for us, so we couldn't communicate. It never happened because many people have worked against this, and against the New World Order. And these people are humans, so they are humans who helped human fellow men, no ETs. Actually, I don't know, but those people who I know who work with this, they are very human. But it was about mimicking what's in Bible, and that the headquarters of the New World Order would be in Jerusalem, and they wanted to build the third temple of Solomon, and it hasn't happened yet. So it's my like little explanation. Would you like to say something about this? Why they wanted to nuke Jewish, like Israel and Jerusalem, when they call themselves Jews. In fact, some of these Satanists, or some of those who call themselves Jews, are totally separate Satanists, Luciferians.
Basically, what you said was all correct. The reason why, when I sat in on the meetings, that they wanted to nuke Israel at that point, that was part of the program that Jimmy Carter was given. That was called the Plan 2000. When I sat in on those meetings, now what they were hoping was that basically Carter would start World War III by us going after Iraq. Remember? Iraq was our buddy, and they were going after Iran, and of course that was all over oil. They were hoping at that point, the people over there that have nuclear bombs, and several of them do, that they would hit Israel. That would begin World War III, and that would be the whole Middle East would erupt, because that would start the wars, and each different faction within the world will then combine because they want to go against their common enemy, which is the United States. Mm-hmm. That'll begin World War III.
Yeah, and many people have seen Albert Pike's Three World Wars, and how the Third World War would be conducted. And also I would recommend maybe to watch a short video which is on YouTube, Jacob Rothschild, who is the son of Victor Rothschild, who British Secret Service, who knew about Second World War, and suddenly they provoked Second World War. So he is talking about Jacob Rothschild, about the Balfour Declaration, which is more than 100 years now old, how they were planning to get to Israel in 3,000 years. So this conspiracy to get to Israel is, he confirmed, at least 3,000 years they have tried. And it has something to do with negative ETs also, or people like discuss these ETs and fallen angels. There is an entity that consider maybe the part of the land of Israel or as theirs, and maybe somebody of you have seen a lecture of Kerry Cassidy, which is on Miles Johnston YouTube channel, and the lectures is from September, where Kerry mentioned also a writer who is dead now, who lived in Israel, I believe. He describes how tall beings, very tall beings, came to houses in Israel and consider like the place theirs. They were not kind against the house animals, like kicked into the like dogs or so. So these ETs or fallen angels, what you call them, has something to do why the Illuminati want to get to Palestine or the Israel. It's old, it's thousands of years old plan.
You're basically right, but that you have to understand, all that area over there was the original habitation on the planet from humanoids. From originally, it was done in Africa, and then that area that's where we began. Well, they're aware of the population estimates that the extraterrestrials said that the planet could maintain in balance, and that's the key. The balance of the planet is 500 million people.
You know, George, it's something against my like, you have seen the Georgia Guidestone. It's appalling. Yes. And
Yeah.
suddenly these ETs, you say that they recommend the same. Well, for me, it's anti-human agenda. Or, you know, I lived in Sweden most of my life, and it's very underpopulated country, a lot of land, few people. And actually in 60s, we have heard uh, I have heard about it like only 10 years ago, that in the 60s, um, almost 1% of Swedish population was sterilized. It's genocide. It's genocidal agenda. It was Swedish people. Some of them maybe were mentally ill or so, some, but many of them were just poor. And these people had no chance to get children. And this huge country, which now it's only 9 million people is there, uh, it's very underpopulated in my view, and there are a lot of places on earth which are underpopulated. But of course you have lived in Asia, so there are parts that are overpopulated, and also a lot of food is dumped. So we have the possibilities to produce even food for 3 times as many people, I believe, as now. And the free energy was denied, the access to the free energy and to the advanced technology was denied for us, for like 99% of population. So our potential was like we were dumbed down by the Illuminati. We don't have access to free energy. People get killed if they talk about free energy. So we have much bigger potential. I don't believe this overpopulation, or no, it's not.
I would suggest, if you get a chance, there's a book, and I'll show it to you right now. If you can see the top of the book, it's
Yes, I
called
can see it.
it's called The Tipping Point, and it's done by the scientists that have met throughout the world, and it goes into all the details of the environment, like all the fires that are going on in the world and all the oceans that are rising, and everything's all detailed in it. And they're coming to the same conclusion: because of the increased population, we can no longer sustain the planet. And so they wrote a book to expose all this stuff, scientifically backed, that see what I can understand, because I said it on the meetings, like as Kissinger said, there's too many people on the planet. And go to any country, even as you're saying, from Greenland up there, everything is melting. And so that it's changing the ocean, and we're having all the cities predicted by Nostradamus and other ones that are on the ocean, like New York will be all underwater. Well, half of it got wiped out from the floods, and it's coming now. New Orleans, all this water that's happening is happening around the planet, and the carbon dioxide is increasing. And the meetings that I attended on it way before, I did the same thing. You said, oh no, we got plenty of that. Well, we can only use about 25% of the ground, if you want to, on the planet right now, because of most of the rest of it we polluted. Go look at all the coral reefs right now. Even myself, I own 2 coffee farms in Costa Rica. The temperatures have gone up so much that the coffee's not any good anymore. So I had to shut them all down along with the rest of them. Now, I was the president of Terrazoo Coffee Association, which is right next to San Jose, the capital. And we've all met. The coffee business has basically gone down. I have friends in the wine business. They've had to cut down at least a third of the property that they're growing right now. This is in California, to make wine, because there's no water. So we have a problem that's coming in all directions that we have to look at. And the tipping point for planet Earth, the book goes into great details, backed up scientifically. So when you're saying you think more people can come along, why did China was aware of this? Why do you think they ordered only 1 child to be born?
Oh, it was a communist system or anti-human system, and they don't have it like so strict now.
Well,
But George, the fires. If we take the fires, have you seen the high the plasma, or have you seen that somebody is causing these fires, and the houses melting, also iron details and concrete is melting in very unnatural way. You have trees left, not
right,
burned, but the houses were destroyed. This is somebody who's making these fires. So this is a crime. When you have harp crimes, harp made disasters, and in your country, it's like many of these floodings were made by HARP. Here in Prague in June 2013, we had a big flooding. 15, 16 people were killed, and it was a few days after I had written that Evelyn Rothschild and David, I have this letter. I could. They blocked my. The Secret Service were blocking my emails. So I went to a copy shop and I have sent like handwritten. You seen Rothschild, Evelyn Rothschild?
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And this is 27th of May 2013. The flooding came 2 days later, or the harp attack came 2 days later, and
yes,
15, 16 people were murdered by it. And I have documentation like, can you see this cloud? Can you see this
yes,
cloud? It's so unnatural, so that you understand that it's it was the day after, like the harp attack, and it came from the harp facility that they have in northern Wales. So so that they are attacking us, the Illuminati, the Illuminati NATO are attacking us citizens, provoking here not only false flags, it's harp crimes. They are dumping at us chemtrails. So, and you said something positive of the chemtrails. I don't see anything positive about it. And then there is another problem, Nibiru, because the documentation, oh, there are so many people within military, uh, even like whistleblower from Vatican, Malachi Martin, were talking about that that they are watching some celestial body, and it's this Nibiru. One believe that it's like it has elliptical orbit and it's close to the Earth every 3,600 years, and I can show you. There's a little booklet like
yes,
Colbrain Bible and Planet X. So one believes that the so-called climate change, warming, I don't believe in it at all. Anything that starts with CC, which is third letter 33 degree Freemason, I like smell that it's like something Freemason fraud. But the warming, uh, many people believe, can depend on that this planetary system, or what it is, this planet X Nibiru is influencing like the sun and the constellation here, so that the warming is because of this. And if this is true, that the Nibiru flyby is close and it will not crush us, but it will be very difficult for us to handle it, and then that all of this 7 billion people can survive, and we haven't prepared for it, because they have stopped the information about Nibiru Planet X. So if we are heading for such a disaster that we should be prepared for a long time ago, with like water, shelters, many should maybe move to a safer location. We should be working hard with it, how to save all people. Instead, um, no, this climate change, I don't believe that this way. It's okay, it's polluted, but why partially it's polluted? Because the Illuminati are denying us the technology, free energy, and so on. So no, my problem is more that I want to know about this Nibiru. I want to immediately do maximum, so each single person will have a chance to survive. And these chemtrails, it must like go disappear. Also, partially because we need to see if there is somebody close to us, so that we could see it with our eyes, and that it will not be covered with chemtrailing. It's so many diseases with this chemtrailing. No, it's very negative from my perspective.
From your perspective, but that's a combination of information that you're given. It's not a question of them putting in particles in the chemtrails that cause disease down here, but the plan was in order to protect us from the gamma and ultraviolet rays, which was killing us off faster. They were trying to keep us around. And that's the game. It's a no-win thing. It's like beginning a war. There's no winners. Man has basically ignored all of the laws of the universe and the extraterrestrials. Remember, man didn't originate on this planet. We all come from different star systems. So we have to look at where we're at as far as the population. The coral reefs are dying all over the planet. I have property in Montana. I'm sitting in the property, and all of a sudden, everything, because it was so dry, they have ignited. And look at Yellowstone Park. They've lost 25% of Yellowstone Park, which is a national monument over here, to the fires that occurred naturally because it's so dried out. Meanwhile, we got tons of timber out here. It's totally dry now because of no water and the bugs that have come in and all of a sudden eating up the trees. And there's no reason for it. I mean, thousands of acres of trees that are dead now because of no water, because of the bugs. Now, this is all just within a few miles of where you and I are talking about. This is over in Montana. I'm in Idaho right now, and the reason why I'm here, because we have two of the largest lakes in the United States full of water. I have water across the street because I'm concerned. That's the most valuable mineral on the planet.
Yeah, it is. Um, we then I would also mention that somebody asked you about that the ETs have promised us healing machines. Do you know something about healing machines?
No, well, the ETs give us information, which they have, and we have to take that. When I was talking to Dr. Abramowitz down in New Mexico, he was a liaison. He was talking for the extraterrestrials, the so-called Greys that have a base in New Mexico. And he and I were discussing some of the technology that they shared with us, which we have today, including cloning. That's the ability to create people who look just like us, but they have no souls. I talk to the doctors that treat the clones because they start to break apart after 5 or 6 years. So it's a real interesting game that you're talking about it. We have there's a Bethesda hospital, which is in, back east. There's a whole building set next to Bethesda, and that's nothing for to treat the clones.
Mm.
So we have walking people that are created and programmed to think for the New World Order, if you want to look at it that way.
Mm. And what people are talking about, that many people in United States are missing, that large numbers, and some maybe disappears into the underground bases, and one have heard about torture and about experiments, and even that human beings have been eaten or used for. What do you know about that?
Well, I know some of that was on with Ted Gunderson, remember, the former head of the FBI, which is a friend of mine, and he was assigned to some of the investigations of what you're talking about, these camps that are going on. I didn't follow that up because I was playing the game of Monopoly at that time. I was building in 22 states, shopping centers, office buildings, motels, and that type of stuff. And because I was playing that game, I was not too much interested in what was happening from that standpoint. It's only when I became in direct contact with the ETs myself and got to ask them the questions, to look like you're asking me right now. I got to ask them questions because it changed my background. I went to Colorado School of Mines, which is the #1 engineering school in the world for earth sciences. Well, about everything that I learned is based on a lie. So what we have to look at, everything that's given to us has to be judged and discerned. And you try to do that from a soul point. What is logical? The universe is logical, mysterious maybe, but don't make it mystical. And far as the extraterrestrials, there's a game going on with them. Which one there's one group of the extraterrestrials that don't want us to live. But the first rule in the universe, as you know, is basically what you put out, you're going to get back. In other words, the law of attraction is the first rule. And if you look at that, what you do, it's going to come back at you. Well, if the extraterrestrials come down here to get rid of us, then it's going to come back to them. Where my problem come in myself, the Greys are all clones. They don't have a soul, so they're not part of that game, but this is part of a big universal program. And according to the extraterrestrials that I talked to, there are 3 planets that are going through this, and we're one of them. It's changing if you look at it because of the cycle. And this is the ending of the big cycle. Like you were talking about 3,600 years, well, 26,000 years is the cycle we're ending on this planet. And at this point, my job, and I've been running around the world lecturing, trying to get people to get prepared. Well, like what you said, get into a small town away from major cities, because the major cities don't produce anything. They just consume. So let's go on with your questions.
Yeah. George, did you knew Phil Schneider also?
Yeah, I knew Phil Snyder.
Okay. Do you know about that? I believe it was Al Bialik who said after Phil Schneider died. So he talked about that Phil told him that he was in meetings in underground bases where I believe NATO and United Nations participated, that it was like Great Hall, and they were waiting for the last people to come, like the most important people who would sit on the best places, and who came was 7-foot Greys who dictate the policy, and then the geologists like Phil Schneider like quit it. I don't know if there were 40 geologists, but several of them, including Phil Schneider, left. Then I believe he worked for NATO, isn't it so? So that he left, that he wouldn't serve to these entities who dictated the policy, and it's of course genocide of us.
That's right. Well, you know, Phil Snyder and Al Bealey, we were all together. We were having lunch and discussing some of these things. But we're back to the same point. This program is so big and its entire world is involved in some way. So I have to look at what is happening to the people that actually know. It's like when I was in Beijing, the sky was clear. There's totally nothing going on out there. Well, that's some time ago. You can't go to Beijing now. It's the #1 polluted city in the world. And so I have to say, if they've known all this, and which they do, then why are they allowing all this to happen? The same thing you're talking about, except for they have cities over there that are doing enormous mining right now in China, and the mining is polluting so bad. It's like going through a whole, everything is coming down on it. You can't breathe. You'll kill them off, and they don't care. There's just so many people. They just don't care. You and I, we think there's something much bigger, but there's nothing here that's going to save us except for ourselves. So what we have to do is find ourselves a place that's like me. I'm in a very small town. I have plenty of water. We have food stored up, and we're suggesting people to do that. The other problem that we're having is we got a president yesterday is changing the whole system. He's telling people, but right now, yesterday, China and Japan have made it a situation so the trading currency between them is going to be the Chinese currency. Well, the dollar is going to be destroyed probably this next year. I'm expecting everything to crash sometime in 2018. If that goes on, it's like I was going to go to China, but everybody has to get themselves a special permit to go into China right now, even as a tourist. So everything is changing drastically. Just bless yourself that you can breathe clean air and be happy. Well, Greenland is getting green, as you know.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm breathing clean air. We have so heavy chemtrailing here, and I guess it's everywhere in the NATO countries. So yeah, but I don't complain. I believe that I have moved from Sweden to Central Europe.
Yeah.
I believe that it's better because of I believe in the Nibiru flyby is quite close to us now, and that we still have no clue. We haven't got any.
From your studies and everything, you probably, even your psychic friends will tell you this: the safest place on the planet is the southern hemisphere. But politically, I have to look at that. Wouldn't want to be. I had friends that were involved in South Africa before it changed, and now they don't like that anymore. There are a couple places that are. I like. Well, I like New Zealand. There's nobody there, you know. And there's water, and it had everything else. And I was in New Zealand for a month and looked at that time there was 90 million sheep and 3 million people in all of New Zealand. You know, which is good. Meanwhile, the oceans, the last 3 times I've been out on the ocean, I haven't seen any large fish, no whales or anything else. Not that they're not there, but there's so many of them that are down. And my friends that are up here, our trouble is our forests are all burning. It had nothing to do with it. They're just burning away and dying. So we're in trouble here, big time, and they know it.
George, I believe again they have HARP like Tesla Thackeray even in ocean, and that they use it even like in the ocean, so they kill many fishes. Then it's nuclear, like from Fukushima also.
It takes energy to do that. And remember, when they're using the technology, I mean, you know, I worked on nuclear. I worked on the Hound Dog nuclear bomb for the Air Force, and I also worked on some other. My son's a nuclear physicist. I just talked to him. They sent him down to, just to give you an idea how bad it is. He was in Jakarta, Indonesia. This is 2 weeks ago. They transferred him down to Georgia to start a new nuclear plant. And he told me last night they're going to cancel that too. So there will be no nuclear going on in the United States.
Oh, my problem with nuclear power plants is in case that the Nibiru flyby is close to us and it will cause a certain destruction on the surface of on the planet. How can we shut down the power plants suddenly if we learn, for example, that the Nibiru flyby will occur, the destruction temporary will occur within a few months? What are we going to do with all the power plants, the nuclear power plants?
Well, you're not going to be able to, because they're in Russia, they're in Europe, they're all over the United States. We're not building any new ones. Most of our transmission of electricity is on high tension lines that are 30 years old across the United States. Our main highways that they put in, most of them are a disaster right now. So we're looking, everything is changing so drastically, but people would prefer to stay asleep and watch the television or go on the internet and listen to you and I talk about the thing. But to come out to make a difference, most people don't want to hear it, because they'll go to their local church and waiting for Jesus to come back and save them. This is the time of year for them doing that.
Well, I feel that in case some young man with name like Jesus would walk here among us, he would have taken my job already in 2013, the job that I really do, not this, but I mean, he would do it much better and not only stop false flag like operations just like for temporary, he would do something properly. And well, okay,
That's another story.
yeah, and I see the man who is the boss of Illuminati, William Van Down, who wanted to declare himself be this man. I know what he's up to, so high level Satanist. So okay, somebody asked also more about the Pine Gap, this military base in Australia, which it's actually like a land of United States, isn't it? And it's underground base, but isn't it U.S. soil?
No, it's not U.S. It's a territory the U.S. made a deal with Australia, but no, it's still Australia property, and it's kind of like some of their other projects. It's kind of like like when China built a whole city over there and nobody's there. Well, the same thing with Pine Gap. The people who were told they could go down there are still here. So obviously, that's not the place to go at this minute, because what's happening in Australia. Some Aborigine friends of mine, and the Aborigines were here before this. They were here the last time this planet went through here. So where we're looking at the Aborigines saying that they've got permission not to reincarnate on the planet now, because this is the ending of the cycle.
I would also ask, what do you know about these trains, high-speed trains underground between like continents? Do you know anything about the trains?
No, I know nothing about those. I've heard. I was talking to some people about the ones that were set up for the prisoners to go to. Well, because they asked me to build that enemy prisoner war camp. I mean, I could, that was in downtown Las Vegas, to give you an idea. But like Ted said, they're building them all over the United States, only they call them FEMA camps. That's Federal Emergency Management Agency. And that's supposedly in case of emergency, they'll come in and do it. But the real plan was to get the people to go into eliminate people here. That's all.
Yeah.
But I don't think those plans are going to go through. I think the planet's got some major things that are going to happen. And I keep looking. People don't realize what 1,300,000,000 people are until you go to China or India. India has, 50 different nationalities are speaking between people over there. For over 1 billion people, they don't even communicate with each other. The major cities are there, they're okay, but they're heavily polluted. It's the same thing. You go to China now, you have all the major people in the cities, the rest of it is open desert. It's like go to Arizona in the United States, that's all desert. Nothing grows out there. I mean, there's few partials out here, but everybody's going to solar. A third of the electricity in the United States now is all generated by solar power. So, which is fine. And we have people that are still coming in. Mexico is kind of interesting. You got Mexico City with 10 million people and 4 million automobiles. And of course, that's consuming a lot, and it's heavily polluted down there too, because it's in the mountains, as you know, and at high elevation. So we have things to look at when you go around the planet, and I hit everywhere I can to try to wake people up that's in there. So there'll be a few people left. I'm not too sure about what's going to happen at this minute. And I'm also saying, okay, yourself, your listeners, they're all concerned about what's going on at this minute because they can feel it. Nobody uses money anymore. It's that little plastic card. Anyway, that's just an answer what I have for you.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about trains underground, and I don't think they would be there unless they're being monitored by some of my other friends, because they're doing that too. Everything's being monitored right now heavily by satellites, everything.
We were planning to talk about what we suggest to do against all this new world order, and so. But now we have only 10 minutes left or something. So it's we have been talking about other things. George, I would like to ask you. Do you know that the US Congress has agreed, I believe 2013, to buy 30,000 guillotines? Have you heard about it, or is it possible to check it so if it's true? Or
Yeah, I can check. My meeting later on this morning is with a state representative or our state congressman, and I'll be today. So I'm still in that circle, getting the current information, and they're very concerned about what's going on.
Oh, it's
So,
great. But you can ask him if it's true that the Congress, that they have agreed on buying 30,000 guillotines.
sure.
It
Yeah.
says something about the Congress. I mean, who would buy 30,000 guillotines?
Well, I'll ask about it to get some details because I'll be with them at lunch today. So.
Yeah. Okay, and you have to run soon. Do you know the last question? There was somebody who noticed that the previous video was 1 hour and 11 minutes, like 111. And
Yeah.
I know numerology, and it helps us to stop false flags and see the pattern. So it's what we are using on the good side. But do you know that they have um, they have a language, not only sign and the hand signs like that they use, and they have been using in thousands of years. Confucius has written about that we are like ruled by signs, and he talked about it already back then. But I believe it was in the United States that they have a language like that they communicate, the Illuminati, with each other in mainstream mainstream media like MSN.com, but they know the language, but not we. And if you learn the language of codes and signs and colors, then you can stop false flags, of course, because you see it as well as others see it. I can see what they are planning for tomorrow, and it helps us, like humanity, to do something about it. Have you heard anything about that this language, that they use it, the
No,
Illuminati?
I haven't heard anything about that. I did talk to, I talked to some doctors that are working on a government program for transmitting information, and it was all done by thought. Since all we are is condensed thought, they have learned how to transmit by telepathy, if you want to do it. Tune your mind into so you can communicate with anybody in the world of that frequency you allow in that frequency in. So that's a government project, and they've been doing that for some time now. When I was with the doctor, he was in Los Angeles at that time, and he had like 50 people he was training in the government. So I don't know how many more they've done it and what's going on, but it's certain people have the ability to communicate with each other telepathically if you look at it, and it's all done without what we're looking at. You and I are looking at the new electronic media per se, right? And I told you that, well, last time I was going to try to tell you that about, when I first saw my spacecraft, I'm 10 feet away from a craft, at Edwards Air Force Base, and a craft looked just like this, just so you look at it. See that?
Yeah.
That was exactly what I saw at Edwards Air Force Base. And I'm 10 feet away from it. That's in 1984. So you can imagine the technology that the government had at that time. Now remember, that was all top secret. Nobody should know anything about it. Then when I was then I was instructed, weather-wise, which concerned me. They said, get ready for heavy, high winds on the planet. 3 to 400 mile an hour winds. So I said, okay, great. Now, as a builder, nothing I built would withstand that. So then I went and looked around. A company down in Texas is called Monolithic Dome, is where I went down and learned how to build monolithic domes. And a monolithic dome, I'll just show you one. Let's see if you can get a picture of it. Do you see the dome?
Not really.
There it is. That's a dome. It's a big balloon, all concrete. So winds will come in and go up and over it. And so that, which makes it pretty good for that end of it. So then, of course, I was back knowing our technology. Then, of course, I was over with Billy Meyer, and I was with him for a week, and that's where I became in direct contact. But we were in contact of many dimensions at that time. We're not only physical, but other ones. Now, that's going on within the universe. So this thing keeps getting bigger and bigger, the picture, I call it the big picture, because of what you and I are nothing more than a spirit having a physical experience. That's all we're doing. But we were given laws and we've broken them all. So what's happening, we're going to have to live up to what other people have not taught us. And what you're doing is trying to help people wake up to doing that. And like I say, I've been given away, as you know, the handbook for the new paradigm to everybody that comes in, or they just go to my website, as you know. And in the book itself, this is what the book is right there. Handbook for the New Paradigm.
Yes, I can see it. Yeah.
I give that to them. My last message is from the ETs, and they give me the information. I'm their publisher. I didn't do anything else. But my last message from them basically is telling me that there's too few of the people that you and I are waking up to get, and for us to get together with other people of like minds to support each other in the days ahead. And then, like they say right here, the key to the application of becoming that the intent must be in harmony with universe. In other words, the fourth law is the law of intent, basically, or allowance, but intent. What did you intend with your thought? By doing that, you and I have to figure out a way to take this thing and allow it to go through, but it has to be in balance within the laws of the universe. And there's 4 simple ones, and that's all spelled out in the handbook. That, again, if people go to my website, nohoax.com, they can download it for free, and then they can make their own decision. So meanwhile, you got any more questions for me?
No, I know that you have to run, you have your meeting, but we keep in touch, and if we were to talk another time, so you can suggest some time or so when you have a lot of meetings.
I'll get in. Yeah, I'll get back with you. I thank you for having me on the program.
Thank you so much.
And I have a happy season for everybody out here. It's time for get together and take care of each other and bless each other for what you're doing, because this is a real game that you and I are on right now. And according to the ETs, next year is not going to be good. So get prepared.
Yeah. Thank you so much, George, and happy holidays and best.
Happy holidays to you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.